Hey y'all, here I go again running my mouth before a video, but this will just take a minute, and I want to tell you two things. First, any announcements that I make from here on out, things that are pertinent to the channel or something else that we are doing, will be at the end of videos. This is the last time I'm going to make an announcement on the front end of a video. So from here, and there'll be an announcement at the end of this video. I've got something I want to tell you. So from here on out, if you want to hear an announcement, if you follow the channel, you're not just somebody clicking through and listening to a video, you follow the channel, the announcement will be at the end. The second thing I want to tell you is, it's amazing to me, and this is the nicest gesture. 8 or 10 people have emailed me and sent messages via Facebook or some way gotten in touch with me and asked me where they can donate. I just can't believe that. And thank you. Wow, I just can't believe it. And I don't know what to say other than thank you. But here's the deal. I didn't realize it, but some YouTube channels have a PayPal account where you can donate to. I just was not aware that people did that. I don't have any problem with that, but I don't do that. I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to ask you for a penny. YouTube is one of these platforms that is free to you. You don't pay a penny for the content, and I'm glad to share these stories with you. I just have a ton of fun doing this. So I'll never ask you for a penny. We have secured a domain name, and we'll be building a website over the next month or two. And we may sell t-shirts. I don't know what we're going to do with it, but I just want to let you know, thank you for your thoughts on that. The people who have sent those messages to me, I'm just blown away by how nice this community is. And I'm sorry if I ramble on here, but I don't know what to say about it. It's so nice. But I'm never going to ask you for money. That's just not my thing. And I do this for fun. And there are ways to generate income through this type of content, but it's not going to be on YouTube. So I wanted to let you know that I'm never going to ask you for money unless you get something in return. I may try to sell you something, but I'm not going to just ask you for a donation. So all that said, let's get into this story. It's really good. And I'll stop running my mouth. All right, here we go. Story was sent to me, or this encounter was sent to me by J.R. from Alabama. I write this story down for the first time ever. I have only told this to a few people, and I was leery to do so then. I was born and raised in North Marengo County, Alabama. I'm a country boy. I have been hunting and fishing since I was a small child, and I love the outdoors. I will admit that as a kid, I loved to watch shows on Bigfoot, but I didn't believe in it or want to see one. I was 21 in the spring of 1994 when a college buddy of mine, AJ, came to visit his grandparents. They live in Greene County, just north of Demopolis, Alabama. Demopolis is where the Tombigbee and the Black Warrior rivers meet, so there's a lot of swamps and sloughs in the area. AJ's grandparents had over 800 acres with about 40 acres that was directly on the Black Warrior River. I hadn't seen AJ in about a year, so we decided to catch up while fishing one of the back sloughs. I arrived at his grandparents' home about 11 a.m., and he jumped into my truck with his fishing gear, .22 rifle, and a shotgun. I had my shotgun too. To just let everyone know, there's a large population of wild hogs in our area, and if you didn't know it already, they can be very dangerous. We always carry a .22 rifle for snakes as well. The slough we were headed to was about as far as you could go on their property. It was about a quarter mile from the main river channel. We pulled up about 11:30. We gathered our fishing gear, but left the shotguns in the truck seat. That was mistake number one. We settled into a nice spot and immediately started catching some nice bream. It was a beautiful day, and I loved listening to all the sounds in the river bottoms. At about 2:30, we heard a scream-like sound about a half a mile away. AJ said it was probably a cougar because his grandfather had actually seen one on the property. I told him that I had heard cougars before and that they had a higher pitched scream. This sound was medium to low pitched. It made me very uneasy. I had never heard anything like that before. I told AJ that I was going to get my shotgun, but he told me not to be such a wuss, so I didn't. That was mistake number two. We continued fishing for about another hour, and then we heard it again. We looked at each other and laughed it off. Soon we heard it again, maybe 200 yards away. I was starting to get concerned, and I was thinking about leaving. I had never felt like this in the woods before, and I've always been at ease in nature. So I just sucked it up and continued fishing. At about 4:45, it was starting to get dark in the woods where we were. AJ fired up an old Coleman lantern. It was at this time I thought that I heard someone walking through the woods. It sounded like a person, but I decided it was my mind playing tricks on me. It was getting really dark now, but you could see the top of the trees from the sunset. Maybe 10 minutes later, we heard what sounded like a large limb break. AJ said someone must be trying to scare us off. We both knew that people grew weed in these areas and some still made whiskey. Well, that just made me mad to think someone was trying to scare me off. It was at this exact moment that whatever it was started hitting a pine tree with something solid about 50 yards from us. I had had enough of this, and I told AJ to hand me the old single-shot .22 rifle. I told him that I was going to shoot it in the air in that direction. I had figured whoever it was would run off or start shooting back. I fired the first shot, and the knocking sped up faster and harder. We could hear limbs falling from the dead tree. I thought I heard a low growl in between the knocking. I blocked it out of my mind, and I fired again. The thing then screamed again, and I could feel the sound hit my chest, like standing next to a speaker at a rock concert. AJ jumped back, and when he did, knocked the Coleman lantern into the water. We were now in complete darkness. We could actually hear a grunting sound. I looked for the flashlight in the tackle box. Mine was in the truck. That was mistake number three. I shined the flashlight in the direction of the animal, and we both sat there and watched the light go dead. I could have killed AJ for not checking for batteries. The animal started knocking on the tree again and started screaming over and over again. I could hear AJ grabbing the fishing gear, and the next thing I know, he takes off running towards the direction of my truck in the pitch black dark. It seemed like minutes while it registered in my mind that he had just left me, but I know it was just seconds. I pulled out my lighter so I could have a little bit of light. I could hear AJ running, so I started jogging towards his direction. It was then that I heard him run into something and fall to the ground. When I got to him, I saw that he had run into a small oak tree. That's how dark it was. I asked if he was okay, and he thought that he was. Then the knocking stopped. We could hear the thing walking towards us, making some kind of grunting noise. We were about 75 yards from it, and about the same from my truck. We still could not see my truck, though. I immediately dropped down and started piling up dry leaves and twigs into a pile. I then used my cigarette lighter to get a fire going. As the flames started to catch up, I told AJ to stay here until I got to the truck and could cover him with my shotgun. The fire worked out like I had hoped, and I could see the reflection of my tail lights, and I took off running. I had made it maybe 30 yards when I heard it scream again much closer. When I was about 10 yards from my truck, AJ passed me screaming that it was running after us. I got around my truck and opened the door, threw the .22 rifle in and grabbed my 12 gauge. I knew that I had 5 shots of double-aught buck in it. I turned around and I could hear it running towards us, so I aimed at the sound and started firing. I had fired twice when I heard it scream again, but this time it sounded a little different. I continued shooting, and I could hear AJ shooting too. We could still hear the thing running towards us, but on my last shot, it veered off to our right into a briar thicket. It ran through that thicket, and it sounded like a bull running through the brush. I heard it when it jumped into the east side slough. I remember thinking it sounded funny because it didn't make the sound of something hitting deep water. I reloaded quickly and listened to it running off in the distance. I looked at AJ, and his face looked as white as a sheet. I asked if he was okay, but all he could say was, "What was that?" I told him I had no idea. We got into the truck and got out of there as fast as we could. When we got to his grandparents' house, we told them what had happened, and they laughed at us. They asked what we had been drinking. We told them we had not been drinking at all, and that we were dead serious. His grandfather said that we would all go back the next morning and get to the bottom of this. I didn't sleep much that night at all. It was raining hard the next morning, so we had to wait until after lunch to head out. We loaded up into AJ's grandfather's four-wheel drive truck. AJ had his shotgun, his grandfather had his .30-30, and I had a rifle with a high-capacity magazine. We arrived and first went to the old dead pine tree. Next to it was a 6-inch diameter and about an 8-foot-long sweet gum log that had been broken and twisted off. The sides of the log were beaten up really bad. We looked at the old pine tree, and at about 6.5 feet up on the tree, you could see where something had used the smaller sweet gum log to beat against it. Now, I'm not a small man. I'm 6'3" and weigh 230 pounds. I could not pick that sweet gum log and hit it at the same spot and make the same sound that it had the night before. I tried several times. We then looked for tracks, but I guess the rain had washed them away. We went to the thicket where it had run into when I was shooting at it. It looked like a Mack truck had driven through there. We looked for blood and tracks. We found some deep impressions, but could not tell what they were. If we did hit it, I guess the rain washed all the blood away too. AJ's grandfather did find some long reddish-brown hair in several places in the briar patch. When we got to the slough, I saw why it had sounded funny when it jumped in. You could see on the opposite side of the bank where something had landed on two legs. It was no more than 2 feet away from the bank. It had almost cleared at least 28 feet. We searched the area and couldn't find anything else, so we gathered everything up that we had left the night before and got back in the truck. AJ's grandfather told us that he had no idea what this could have been, but not to talk about it because he didn't want to scare his wife or any of the grandchildren. I never talked about it very much, just to a few close friends. I went on to join the Army and did a tour in Iraq. I can tell you that I was never as scared over there like I had been that night. I have never been looking for Bigfoot, nor do I want to. One evening, a couple of weeks ago, I was scrolling through YouTube and came across a video that said Mississippi Bigfoot howls. I clicked on the video, and a little while later, I felt the hair stand up on the back of my neck and goosebumps cover my body. It was the same screams we had first heard that day 25 years ago. I could not believe it. I still hunt and fish today and still love the outdoors, but I know now that I must always be vigilant when I am out there. Thank you, JR, for sending that in. Man, can you imagine fishing, getting out of the boat, and being chased out of the woods by a Bigfoot? So hard that you got to get to your truck and get a shotgun and start shooting at it to get it off of you. That's one of the best viewer encounters I've heard, and that was exciting, very exciting. So there's some insights into that. Those things can be aggressive, and just be aware. Just be aware. Okay, now here's the announcement I wanted to make at the end of the video. Remember, all announcements from now on will be at the end of the video because I don't want to distract from the story. But here's the deal. I had a Facebook page. It was a personal dixiecryptid Facebook page, and Facebook didn't like that, and they took it down, and that's fine. That's their company. But it's forced me to go make a business page or a fan page, which I'm fine with. They're just hard to navigate and quite difficult to interact with people. If you've not run one, let me assure you, they're not like the page that you have for your person. They're trying to make money off of it, and I understand that, and that's fine. It's their company and their rules, and we're going to play by their rules. So I've started a business page or a fan page, and the link is in the description. And that little F symbol there in my banner on the front of the channel, you can click it and it'll go to that page. So if you want to follow us on Facebook, click that. Let me tell you what we're going to do for Facebook. Not a lot, but maybe 10 or 15% of the viewer encounters that I have in my possession right now, some of them are short, but they're good. And if they're short, I may select a few of those and put those just up on Facebook. So we're going to kind of try to broaden our exposure here and put a few on Facebook. Also, we have an Instagram account, and I will be posting these to Facebook and IGTV. So if you want to hear some stuff that's not on YouTube, it'll be on Facebook or IGTV. Both of the links are in my banner, and they're in the description below. I don't know if I can post videos of my own on Twitter, but I'll put them there too. So I just want to let you know that. Click the link for Facebook. Go over and like our page. If you're interested in that, Facebook, it's kind of fun. It's a pretty good platform. So if you're interested in that, go over and click like. Set your notifications like you want them for the dixiecryptid page, and we'll just go from there. Okay, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you guys on the next video.